Hey Nicholas, hi, how are you?
Hi, Mustafa. Good to see you again.
Pleasure,
How are
pleasure.
things?
Things are good, going good. There was a big pause on my podcast last year till November. I had back to back, but from January to April, I was having one podcast or two podcasts in a month. But next 2, 3 months is totally booked again, back to back weekly. So this is our
Awesome.
second session, and I can see the logo change behind you, which is
Yeah.
Data Galaxy now. Last time you were YOOI, now Data Galaxy. So our today's topic is again, we will talk about YOOI tool again, that strategy ops, which you are kind of an inventor of that ops, and then we will talk about metadata, where I think Data Galaxy come into picture. And then majorly to start with, we start with the transparency, which is my to-go thing nowadays. I'm talking about transparency, transparency, transparency. And reason being, I want to segregate observability with transparency, two different things. Observability is more towards logging and cost recovery, blah, blah, blah. Transparency is more towards strategic side, how to look things from a strategy angle, right? So I think let's start on this transparency.
It's a great, I like the topic of transparency. I've been using a slightly different word, but I think the the
Essence.
idea behind the essence is similar. It's all about alignment, across different parts of the value stream or across different people and or alignment and visibility and so on. So it's around that because the fact that we we lack visibility on what's happening
Hmm.
drives to lacking alignment. And if we lack alignment, then there is a lot of waste happening. Waste in terms of, let people do duplicate things or, having building things that no one use and so on. So I think that's a key topic. And it's almost a 360-degree topic, in a way, because it happens across silos, but also in the value chain, and so in a lot of different directions. So um, I think that's a great, a big change and a big angle to build that transparency across the dimensions, basically.
Yeah, so see, when you say alignment, it's kind of a same thing because you have once you have the transparency or once you have the alignment, then only you can have vice versa, right? And
Yeah.
why I'm saying transparency, reason being, the new era has started. Agentic AI is here. Now, when agentic AI is here, we know that there will be a concept of small, small data products created by agents. And
Mm.
when we say small, small data products, people are talking about data mesh as well, right? A lot decentralized and then federated approach, which I'm a big fan. But my worry is uh, in previous world, even in centralized and decentralized, we were struggling for transparency.
Mm.
Transparency means, as you correctly just mentioned, how many products are there, how many products are, rather than how many use cases are reusing the same product, because it's the same use case, but two
Yeah.
products. There has to be one use case versus one product, or multiple use cases should be served by one product. Now,
Yeah.
duplications are a lot of things because I think the biggest challenge in data mesh is uh, where the inventor says that every domain or subject area should own their own data products, but and talk to cross as well. I think that is where challenge comes, and everybody agrees that hey, if sales have a data product and they don't see a value because they are creating a certain data product for marketing, why should they take care of those? So those disconnects were there in past, but now with the introduction of agentic AI, now
Mm.
more small products will come. And that is where I think this metadata come into picture as well. So what do you say about looking into this angle?
Um, that's a great and topic, and that raises a lot of question for me.
Yeah.
Because as you say, so first we have the problem or the change around the data mesh, so it means we have federated the ownership, but we need shared visibility because if you
Mm,
don't have ways to discover, consume, trust things across that federation, it's
mm,
useless. So it's federated ownership, but it's still um, shared access or easy ways to kind of have that view on the federation.
Mm.
Um, I think the transparency aspect there is also important because it's about trustability. So how do we know the quality, the ownership of what's going on to
Yeah.
know who can we refer to in case of problem? The AI agents on top bring some either use of that data or some autonomy on what's happening in some decisions. And what is interesting is that AI agents are going to either support or take decisions. So it means they will act stuff. So if they support decision making, people need to be able to trust them and to be transparent on how they're making decision, what are the assumption, and so how do we keep that trust level. But when agents are going to make decision by themselves, it's even more problematic. And the main question is then who is accountable for that. So you need the same federated owner. You need owners for your agents. You need people accountable for your agents, both in terms of what do they do, how do you care about risk, how do you monitor them, how do you because it's not like it's magically going to take care about themselves, at least
Mm.
not yet. So, so you need a process and organization behind AI agents to manage them, like it's products basically. So that we say it's like we have a mesh of data products and AI agents. Basically, that's something we're talking about. So to make that happen, you have very similar problems between the mesh of AI agents and the mesh of data product, which is
Mm.
federated ownership, shared visibility, and transparency on what do they do, what actions they take, what use case they support, etc., so that you can have the right safeguards in place in terms of what do I monitor and stuff. And so, to your point, that's a metadata problem first because it's all about making sure that we have that shared metadata layer, both on what are the product, how can I discover them, what are the, but also how can we add the observability and monitoring aspects around that, but also things around curation and ownership, and finally things around business context. And the business context, that's what you mentioned with the use case, is that if you forget that part about why is that existing and for what purpose, then you miss the point about how can we first. I think there is a value problem also linked to that because all of that costs money, a lot of money sometimes. It's and so AI agents are not going to magically be free. So there will be a question of return on investment or a question of profitability or a question of is it accurate? Is that cheaper than people? Is that cheaper than the the problem you solve with that, etc. Is it really driving productivity, for example, to justify the cost, or is it really driving some safety, etc.? So a lot of different questions around that, and it all goes down to, but all those questions cannot be solved, and that's what's important. You have a lot of different facets around those problems, but you need to have a coherent view on all of them. If,
Mm.
otherwise, you miss it
True.
doesn't work.
True.
And so, and that's important because if you have the risk on one side and then the the KPIs and optionality on the other side, and then the value somewhere else, etc. At the end, no one will be able to act on that and to do that. So you need to have a coherent view on those different facets together to support that ownership and the life cycle of those things and of course then this is how you can build the trust so that people use it and it's scaling and reused and so on. So I think the trust aspect is really important.
Yeah, true. As you correctly highlighted trust, right? I think that is where we were struggling last time as well. Privacy and trust,
Mm,
right? Even in data mesh, right? How do you trust that I am a marketing department? I need a sales data and sales domain as per MASH. Sales domain people need to create a product for marketing. How do I trust it? Right? So those challenges were there and human were involved at that point in time, but the value was not there for other domain or other subject area to
yeah.
create a product for another subject area, right? Now this agentic AI comes, and as you correctly mentioned, now these agents will take a decision, right?
Mm,
Now, when agents will take a decision, I always say it's always if and else condition. You have to build a lot of if and else, right?
yeah.
So, so again, tapping this towards the metadata world. Let's bring your new product, which is Data Galaxy as well. We all know that it's a metadata product. So I will go into a little bit more detail. I will do some comparison with other products as well, right? How your UE previous tool got injected with Databricks, what value it created. But before we go into it, tell us about Data Galaxy, which level of metadata it keeps. We all know that there is business metadata, there is technical metadata, there is operational metadata. There are three types of metadata, right? There can be others as well, but these are the
Yeah.
main ones. So how Data Galaxy is providing these services or features?
So today we the Data Galaxy value proposition is really a merge of what Data Galaxy has been doing previously, plus what we were doing at YOOI under one umbrella. And
Mm.
the idea is to be able to support what we call end-to-end governance, but
Mm.
even more importantly, a value governance. So end-to-end. But the strength of what we do is that we cover all the different level of metadata and all the different level of governance, starting from um, infrastructure metadata and operational metadata around data, around processes, etc. So we have, the basically a strong catalog with connectors to extract metadata from the platforms, to extract quality metadata, to extract observability metadata, to extract access management metadata, uh, etc. So that's basically the cataloging part, the metadata, the metadata and catalog part. And then we also have what I would call a business engagement layer on top of that to be able to define, glossaries, define domains, organize a catalog in a way that it makes sense, and be able to define the rules and policies. So really the business engagement and governance layer on top of that. So making sure that you can actually govern your ecosystem.
Mm.
Um, we can add on top the data product layer. So that now it's about how do we package product linked to specific use cases, so that consumability part, because to your question before, the adding of that use case and business context is critical to trustability, because trustability comes to what context has that product been built for, and is my new context similar or not? And that's
Mm.
that informing a lot of stuff, whether you need to question or not the product. And then with what's coming also from YOOI, we can connect that then broader to how is that supporting business strategy, business objective, how we're going to measure value, how we're going to ensure compliance with regulations overall, and so on.
Mm.
So what is really important is that it's really about building that transparency alignment, not not only transversally, but also top to bottom, between where we're building, how is that supporting business users, and how is that helping transform the organization. So that's really a strong value proposition that we do, because we help people at all different levels, and we help aligning them toward the same goal to make sure that you build products, you build metadata that are supporting products that are delivering value, basically. And the other way, how can we help shaping what people are doing at the metadata layer? So you could look at the lower levels as having a lot of competition on the market, because the metadata and catalog, and is a bit crowded for now. There's many actors taking stuff from different angles. But everyone is missing the point for me, in the sense that it's a bottom-up approach, and they're
Mm.
taking it from a very technical angle and only serving well technical people. But if you want to enable the organization and enable AI agents and so on, you need also to think about non-technical people. And this is where we actually uniquely phase that and enable that. And again, this is why we put the focus on uh, value governance.
Yeah, so now I think you have brought in strategy ops piece as well.
Yeah.
Let me drill down further into it for our audience, right? So traditional cataloging tool or metadata tools, you are right, those are built for technical people, maximum up to the level of governance. Governance people normally have those tools, and those tools are run by technical people, right? Now there's a disconnect. So what we are saying is we have the metadata, but what value to generate out of metadata, that was the open ground for everyone. It was dependent who want what. And I think that is where your UE tool comes in and the strategy ops comes in, and you upfront tell, hey, top management want to see these KPIs. They want to see the data in this manner. Example is when the idea was floated from business, then it went to a solutioning, then it went to a development execution and went into production, and then there's adaptability and value generation up to the TCO, which is 3 to 5 years. So this is
Yeah,
what management want to see, and that you bring out of the box from UE. So now this your whole journey, as you correctly mentioned, previously cataloging was bottom to up. Now I
yeah,
think what value you brought in is top to bottom. Correct.
exactly. Exactly. That's so. I told the story before about our different layers from a
Yeah.
bottom up approach, more to explain people how we add things on top of what they know. But the whole point in terms of the approach and methodology that we recommend is to shift from that value governance angle. So to start from the top.
Top.
And this is what we call, so I can use value governance in a way, but also StratOps is a methodology. The whole concept of StratOps is to reconcile the link between strategy and operations, and how
Mm.
one informs the other one. And that's something uh, we use in, and I can even share maybe a
I
quick
think I have
slide
to.
on that. Ah,
I
yeah,
think I
you
have
left.
to allow you.
Yeah,
Hold on. There you go.
yeah, cool. Um, so that's my you should see that screen. So the whole idea
Yeah.
between startups is to have that kind of again, making sure that your strategy is iterative, that it's value driven, so that meaning you can measure how is that contributing to business objective,
Mm.
that it has feedback loops. So how do we use what we develop to inform back the strategy and adapt it? And something I also highlighted is the fact that to make it effective, you also need to automate some pieces to how does what we have on a technical level is connected to that, and to make sure that it's connected end to end and you have visibility end to end. So that's a very key I would say topic um, to connecting those two things. So to your point, the the whole concept of startups is to reconnect and to make sure that we start from what the company wants to achieve. We move into what are the products we need to frame to support that? What are the use cases and what are the products we can frame? And then down to now, what do we need in terms of technology investments? Where are the place where we should do effort? Where is the place we should invest on data quality, and how
Mm.
we should do that? So if I show you another slide, that would be that kind of end-to-end life cycle approach, where basically we say um, we should be able to manage a whole life cycle. But again, it starts from a business standpoint. What do we want to achieve? How are we going to prioritize them? How are we going to track that we deliver that in the right way? How are we going to monitor the products that we deploy into production? And ultimately, can we reuse those assets to support multiple use cases? Should we reinvest on some products, or should we stop them? Because
Mm.
sometimes you build things and you need to stop. So it's part also of that um, then product management approach in that frame that leads to having that kind of systematic process.
Yeah. So I think let me wear this because this is awesome, right? And as an SA solution architect, right, by nature, that is one of the biggest challenge to get buying from top management
Mm,
for metadata, because we were always saying, hey, we need metadata. The management asks why. Hey, because we need data lineage, we need technical. They don't understand that. They do not understand that.
mm,
Now, when I'm creating a solution, I hardly code for metadata because metadata is a given thing, is an IT thing actually. And I think the angle you are bringing, that you're bringing, you're changing the horizon of metadata from IT to business.
yeah,
Now, an essay. it's a great feeling for me when I'm designing a solution. At that time, I know that I'm creating this use case, and this use case has this life cycle which you just showed. And for this use case, this is the data model I'm going to touch.
Yeah.
And only that data model, that can be 10 tables or 20 tables, that is where I need a technical metadata. That is where I need a lineage. So for to support that regulatory requirements or compliance requirements, my metadata from technical to operations to business should circle around this use case, not not a bottom two of that you have to build everything. That's not going to sell. That's not getting sold as of now.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the main challenge. You know, everyone wants lineage, for example, but the question is why? What are you going
Why?
to do
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that question of back to the why is always surprisingly surprising for people. You know, when you ask them why, and like, what do you mean why? And so, because it can be for troubleshooting, it can be for investigation, or it can be for regulatory reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
when it's for regulatory reasons, then you're back to, yeah, where do you need that? And how do you ensure that what you have is what actually answer your questions for regulatory reasons? So, and again, that those things, for example, you mentioned transparency before with AI agents. You also have regulations around AI. So if you know how to link your agents to use cases, you don't know if your agent is complying or not, because that by definition you need to have privacy. You need to have legitimate reason to use, for example, PIA information or to be able to take some decisions. And so whether it's legitimate or not depends on some business context. So
Yeah.
um,
So I'm going to
serving,
brag.
yeah.
So I'm going to brag something about my
Of
product
course.
as the discussion is going that direction. So let me share my screen if people can see this. Where is my screen? Share. Okay. So you can see my screen now.
No, I don't see it anyway, but
Now is it? Cannot, is it? Still cannot. Okay, let me share again. Click.
oh yeah,
This one you can see, right?
yeah.
So I think this is my famous 4 by 4 formula framework.
Mm,
So which I'm advocating everywhere. So I think your product comes here. When a use case comes, there is always a value. Then you have questions, you have answers, and you have actions. So now regulatory comes and asks you, hey, you have generated a value, create a lineage for me. So that is where your tool tell us that, hey, the output which you have come, the value generated is based on these actions, and these actions were taken on these answers. These answers were taken on these questions, and based on these questions, we created a product. So I
yeah.
think that is very much matching what we are talking about here. Yeah.
So the data product canvas is a way to help people drive those discussions, and that's something we have embedded into the product, you know, to make sure that we get things. So if you look at it, that's one example. And again, it can be tailored to each and every organization. But the main question is, and you see, I have three colors. And the three
Hmm.
colors are important because of the blue one is something you had in your is a problem space. You know, problem
Hmm.
space is what people want. Who are the people? What do they want to achieve? And
Hmm.
what action they're going to take in that context, you know, what
Correct.
decisions they want to make and stuff like that. And that's really important because that should be the start of it, is saying what is the problem and what action do people want or what decision they want to make.
Hmm.
And then the second part is a response to that is the solution space. The green
Hmm.
part is the solution space. So meaning what is the solution we need to bring to those people to solve those problems? What do we need to do in order to make sure they adopt that in terms of training, in terms of process, etc. And then you can go into more technical details, meaning what do I need in terms of data to support that? The data product canvas, because
Yeah.
it's a way to help people, to guide users, you know, in how do we frame a product, you know, and how do we ask those questions and doing what we
Mm,
call in the product management space, the discovery, And so there is a lot of different canvases you can find on internet. So this
mm,
one is specifically built for data and AI product because you can link that to um, a specific question that comes when we do data. But some of it are more general. So again, the first part, which is very important, that's why I put numbers, because that's kind of the order in which things need to be answered, even if it's not totally true, but still.
mm,
And so the first thing that people need to focus on, and sometimes we skip, people start by defining a solution. You don't know why, you don't know for whom, and so on. And so what I
mm,
say that the first part is what we call the problem space, which is what do we want to achieve, for whom, and what are the kind of decisions or actions that business users want to take. So that's very important, because if you have a good understanding of that, that's what you had on your slide before, you can start to propose solutions that can answer that question. And sometimes, for example, the answer can be a dashboard, can be providing the data set, or providing them with AI models, or with an app which helps them taking those decisions. There's a variety of ways to answer a problem, but we need to be clear on what is the problem we want to solve, and how are people, what is the action and decision people want to take on top of that,
mm,
is really important. And then we can go into what I call the solution space, the green part,
mm,
which is what is the solution we're going to bring, how we're going to bring that to the users, and what do we need to do to make sure they adopt it. Do we need to train them? Do we need to refine the processes? Do we need to adjust their? We had a great discussion the other day with someone saying we need to yesterday actually, with we need to review the objectives. And so that means if people don't have the right incentive, maybe they are not going to adopt a new, insight from AI or from data.
yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe we need to review also the incentive from the people. So that can be deep. And then you have more underlying technical things, which are what data do I need to support that, and deliver those insights. So back, can I reuse them, or should I invest on new data products, and so on? How going to monitor quality, and so on, and the technical contract. And the last part, the orange one here, is the value space. Is how do we make sure that it's actually a priority based on the value it can deliver to the organization, based on the risk we need to care about, and regulatory risks, and based on, of course, how can we measure and ensure that it remains aligned over time. And
yeah,
so, as you see, those three pieces are really important. And what this is what we also embed directly in our platform, to make sure that we build that continuum. We guide people saying, you have a new idea, this is a frame where it has to go through, and then we can make that connection between strategic outputs, products, and the more technical assets, so that we can
mm,
frame those things and reuse and so on. So that's very important. That's kind of the cornerstone. And again, that's part of the, not something that's helpful for the discovery process, but also that remains a frame during all the lifetime of a product. Why did we build that product in the first place? And
mm,
and are we still in line? And maybe if we're not in line, we need to review it and decide, should we keep that product or build a new one, or evolve, keep it and reshape it, or kill it, or build a new one, etc.
yeah. So I have a question related to this data thingy, right? Where, yeah, maybe we can unshare this one so we have a bigger picture
Yep.
of. Yeah. So yeah. So I think I have a related question to this one. From product angle, from UE angle, do you have a screen where, just for our audience, that if you create multiple data products, is tell you end to end what this data product is about the data as well. So it
Yes,
tells you up to that level.
it goes both ways, because if you take the product, you can
Hmm.
have the upper level view, which is what is the product supporting in terms of use case, strategic objectives, and so on. And you have the more downward level view, which is what are the technical assets in there, and then you can access all the technical lineage. So that's really what is powerful in what we do, is that depending on who's looking at it, you can have the end-to-end lineage. So what we call the value lineage, which is more starting from product to value, and the technical lineage, which is more what are the assets in the product, and where do they come from, and
Hmm.
sometimes down to the column level lineage, and so on. So
It goes up to that
and
level. up to
Yeah,
column
yeah.
level lineage. So I
Yeah,
think,
for some technologies it does,
hmm,
because some use case, like there are some regulatory use case that need that level of granularity. I'm not saying it's required for everyone, but sometimes it's required. And so, but what is important is that it's not necessarily one lineage because it depends on who's looking at it. You can
oh,
have different views
so,
on that because you don't want, otherwise it's if you give the technical lineage to business people, they will be
hmm,
lost. It doesn't make anything for them.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah, yeah.
useless level of details. Uh, but enhancing the technical lineage with business context has value on the other hand because
Yes.
that's a way. So we do it both ways.
Okay, I think, let me drag you into the screens of UE as well. I think we have come to a conjunction. We have only 15 minutes left. Do you have UE screens? Maybe you can show that your famous lineage screen,
Yeah,
because we have been discussing metadata from column up to the business level use case. I do remember you have that screen if you would
yeah,
like
yeah.
to
I can
share that.
let me show it to you. Um,
I
let me
think this
show it
session
to
is
you.
going very good. If someone end up buying your product from this session, what is my commission?
uh, what is? Oh, sorry. I need to. Oh, here. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So you see a screen here. So one of the things, if you look at it from your angle,
Yeah,
is
this
so
one.
again,
Yes.
this is the view from the business user angle, from the
Business angle.
strategy angle. Here, you look at it from what are the business initiatives. So it's really something that talks the language of the business. Then we can see different use cases that we've identified, and they have each of them might have different, progress and so on. So and things,
Can we see
and
the
then we can,
metadata? Can we see the
yeah.
metadata of use case? That, for example,
Uh,
the first was anyone you can pick it and show what was this use case. Yeah.
we can always go. So, for example, you can see for each of them. So here on the lineage, it's fairly simple here what we put. In terms of, for example, some data quality score coming from the data product.
Hmm.
But if you want, you can access all the details. For example, here you can open and see more
Ah,
of the
that's what I'm
details
saying.
around.
Yeah.
For example, on the use case, zoom into more details on the business context, more
Can
details on
I
prioritization
can,
questions, etc.
can I by any chance pull the sample data?
Um, so not necessarily here. So sample data would come more in the catalog part,
Okay.
but that's not something we really do to my knowledge. But it would
Because
be
okay,
more metadata coming from the
yeah, so let me put an example. For example, we have a business initiative, we have a use case. Let's say you say marketing
yeah,
mix modeling. This is a use case, right?
yeah,
Now new use case, a new requirement comes in. So we say, hey, marketing, okay, this looks like marketing, look like a same use case. I click here. Now
yeah,
click here, I see all this thing. Now to take a decision, I also want to see some metadata. So can your tool connect to your technical side of the data galaxy where this
yeah.
click, click, click goes over there and give us
Exactly.
capability?
This is where, when you see the use case and you connect that to supporting products, data
Mm,
products, for example, you can see some technical metadata coming here. So when I open that product now, you
mm,
can see some more technical metadata coming from Data Galaxy.
correct.
And
Wow. Yeah, yeah. Go
you
down,
can
go
have
down, go
some,
down. Go down. I want to see that one. Yeah, go down. Ah, this one. So it's a
so this
product
one is still
itself.
the this one is still the value lineage
Okay.
from the
Okay.
sense. But if you look into it, for example, I can take that order transaction, and you will
Mm,
see I will go to look at it in Data Galaxy now. So in
fair
the
enough.
catalog and governance. So here
Fair
you
enough.
see that same product, and
Mm,
now you see more details about what are the actual assets in that product. So you
awesome.
have that view. So from 40 people here, and then you can navigate and see, for example, that Power BI report,
Awesome.
and see the whole lineage from that Power BI report. Oh, this one doesn't have one, but apparently, but maybe okay, I have one with we don't have a lineage on here. Um, Let me go to another one, I think, which will have more things here. Yeah, here you can see, for example, all that lineage going from, different tables coming, etc. So
Awesome.
you can really
And I think
visualize
we
those things
can, I
together.
think we can click one of those and it'll show the data as well, right?
I don't think we have it in that demo here. You don't have we don't have the actual sample data here.
No, no, which is fine. So this one is
Yeah,
a metadata, right?
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure, I'm sure you click one of the table there, it must go and connect to the actual table. I think.
Yeah, you can directly open. You can then navigate and go to, for example, here it's Snowflake. You can then
Mhm.
go in Snowflake and directly see that exactly.
Yeah, so so this is awesome actually. So we have traveled from business initiative to use case to data product. Now we
Yeah,
click it, catalog opens. When catalog
exactly.
opens, you see the product again, you see the tables, you click it, you see the lineage, column by column, table by table, then you
Yeah.
click it and you go in. Yeah, this is the complete cycle actually.
Exactly, we have the whole the cycle, and at each time you can move up to, for example, I look at one table in Snowflake, I can
Mm.
see in which data product it's exposed, and from there I can see the use case that it's linked to, and from
Mm.
that use case I can go up to having some information coming from the strategic piece, and then
Yeah.
going back to looking at it from the strategic cockpit. So you can come back here and
Okay,
look at it
awesome.
from there.
Awesome.
So it's really
Awesome.
working both ways. And again, that's where we really connect the things. And most of the people don't do the end. Everyone has different angles, but you
Yeah.
can always
That would
navigate
be
end
my
to end.
next question. I was about to stay on this screen. Tell me in your competition world, shall I take the names? No, let's not take the names. Your competitors, do they have this piece in their metadata tool, this strategy?
No, no one is again. Uh, all competition is looking at it from what remains fairly technical.
Mm,
It's a technical metadata.
mm.
There is some description sometimes of the business context, but um, the way to be able to really have both that kind of again metadata platform connected to the infrastructure with all the governance principles around and tightly connected to what is our program, how we're going to deliver, how we're going to generate value, etc., is really unique, and that's a strong differentiation and a strong way to again, the if you make a survey on the market today, the main challenge with data governance platforms and data catalog is adoption, because people believe it will be used by business people, but because they deploy something bottom up and very technical, it doesn't. And so this is where we make the shift to say, actually, if you want to engage business users, to your point, you need the business context. You need to bring
Yeah.
them something that will help them discover things that will support their decision making, support their thought process. And
Mm.
so you need something that talks their own language. And this is what we do, because at the end, we can build those things about, okay, now I talk the language of the business, and they can find products that will support things or guide them into new use case, new product they need, and so on in a business meaningful way.
Yeah. So let me throw one more question over here. Maybe I will catch you off guard. My apologies for that. So here we are talking about business initiative use case. What about, let's say you have this again, marketing mix modeling, right? It's a use
Yeah,
case. Then you have
yeah.
a product on your right hand. Can we see the privacy things as well? Who is accessing what? To whom we have given the access? Like, for example, finance and company structure. This is a product. How many users have access on what? One part.
Um,
Sorry. Second part is cost recovery. That how much cost this customer and sales activation product is consuming. So these two
yeah,
parts I'm looking into access and cost.
yeah. Both are a kind of metadata, so that's
Yes,
definitely
yes,
something we
yes,
can capture from the platform.
yes.
And so we can capture the access metadata and of course the cost metadata. And if you look at it here, we even consolidate that. For example, we can go to one business initiative and look at it from a
Awesome.
consolidated budget standpoint. So
Awesome.
that budget will not only be actually how to say financial, sorry, infrastructure related, but it could be also human cost because if you
Hmm.
take the cost of a product, you also have the human cost to build it and to operate it.
Yeah.
So you need to look at it from different angle. And if I go back to my, for example, uh, marketing mix modeling use case, you will see that we also have that kind of cost breakdown here per use case, and you could do the same per product where you
And
see infrastructure
again,
cost, human
yeah.
cost, etc.
So remain on this screen, stay on this screen. I'll ask another question related to this. This cost is coming from metadata which an IT team has manually created, or you can go and connect to, for example, I'm just talking about the example, Azure portal.
Yeah,
You can connect to the Azure portal directly and pull from there and show here.
yeah. Typically, we would connect to the cloud environments to capture the cost. So Azure,
Awesome.
Google, Amazon. We can also alternatively connect to a FinOps platform if someone has already done the consolidation in a FinOps tool. But also we connect to tools like Jira, for example, to capture the work logs and compute the human cost or things like that. So it's really about connecting to the different places where those costs are directly or
Again.
indirectly.
Hmm.
But that's why I'm saying it's a metadata. It's not. I mean, it could be manually inputted, but it's a bit hard to then.
So just for the sake of our audience, right, let me name few. So we are talking about Azure costing. You can pull AWS, any kind of cost, maybe Databricks cost, Snowflake cost, Microsoft Fabric cost, all which are exposable via APIs. You can
Yeah,
show it here.
yeah, exactly. And because all platforms have cost APIs,
Hmm.
the only challenge, of course, is we need to have proper tagging to make sure
Yes.
that we can
Yes.
allocate the cost to the right place. So there is some work to do, or if it's not in
Okay.
place, to make sure that we can do the reconciliation. So there is a tagging exercise in the resources, but I believe the tagging is required for many other reasons. So,
Another question. Can we
yep.
pull everything and tag here?
You, sorry, I didn't get. You mean yeah, we can have the tags. I don't have it in. I don't have it ready to show now, but
No, no, but we
we,
can do tagging here because what you are talking about, we tag into the Azure
yeah,
portal,
yeah.
or but if there is no tagging over there, we pull everything here and tag over here.
Uh, for cost, I don't think it would work similarly
Okay.
because the problem is that the granularity of what's existing in the cloud platform would make it
Okay, fair
really
enough.
hard. So I
Fair enough.
think it's best to think about how you do the tagging, and what you would do is that on your side, you would pull up the right, you will put the right tags on the right resources so that we can
Okay,
do the aggregation.
fair enough.
But I don't think you can skip doing the tagging in the infrastructure because you're you're solving the wrong problem in a way.
Okay, so I do remember last time you showed us that when you connect with the Jira or any other tool, you can close the task from here, you can
Yep.
update the task from here. Same you can do. I'm relating this question with our tags. So if there are tags over there and they're exposing a API, you can pull an API over here and tag from here, which will eventually go there. And the
Yeah,
next
we do
API you
that.
pull.
So we don't do that for cost, but for example, what
Okay.
we do over Snowflake is that we can push metadata down to the
Mm,
platform. For example, to help with Cortex AI and stuff like that. So enriching the technical platform with business metadata
mm,
is something we can do. So it's always both ways. It's the ability
okay.
to capture metadata, but also to push things on. So we push them from the strategy layer to the catalog and governance, and sometimes down to the platforms
Mm.
for, again, because this is how we can help those platforms to be more efficient.
Okay, we have a time check of 2 minutes. I will throw one last question that how customizable your product is. When I say your product, last time we discussed UE, you can customize a lot.
Yeah.
Can you customize as a data galaxy as an umbrella product? Can you customize based on customer requirement?
We always have a lot of customization option. Um, still what we do on the more, catalog governance part of Data Galaxy is that it's there's a lot of things there to guide people through that, because that layer we believe is way more standardized today. So that's a place where the way you should look at your, ecosystem is not a question that everyone needs to ask themselves from the blank page, because they're losing a lot of time, a lot of things. So we have embedded a lot of guidance to say, just, you know go into what we've been structuring for you. And then around that, you have a lot of customization possible to make sure that you have the right level of metadata, the right fields, the right things around that. So we have a lot of customization, including how people look at things in terms of views and so on. But it's a bit more, it's really guided. And we believe a lot in that guiding approach, because we've seen with other vendors, again, we don't need to cite them, but where people are losing a lot of time by asking questions, where anyway at the end it's not so different, because the way, a data platform is a data platform. You have the same concept you manipulate
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere. So so should you ask? So, but the more we go higher up the chain on the strategy, the more it's becoming hard, because at some point you need to map with how organizations are structured and how they think about value. So this is why we have kind of a layered configurability approach, where the more you go downward, the more guided it is, I would say, and the more you go upward, the more flexibility we bring. But again, just
And
because
doable.
it's always a balance about time to value and and fit for the organization maturity, basically.
Okay. I know I've said last question, but I have one more question popped up. Last time we discussed about your licensing. I hope this will be the last one. Last time the licensing we discussed was based on the users.
Yeah,
What changes when you have bundled up with Galaxy? Can we have use case based licensing as well? Hey, I'm creating a new solution. That new solution or new use case will come into your product. And
yeah.
can I charge business based on use cases or still be user based?
We don't no, we don't. We only do user base actually across the board, with slightly different users across the different layers, because, and I don't like so much the use case based approach to charge things. Why? Is because that leads to a bad habit of doing. If you want to reduce your cost, you're going to do one big use case with everything, So it's forced people to tweak the way they want to deliver value. Whereas the real value of platforms like the one we have is about how many people collaborate. Whether you collaborate with the same group of people on one product or 20 products is not going to make a huge difference, because it's an architectural decision whether you want to have 20 smaller products or one bigger one, and so we don't want to influence people on what is the right level, the right granularity at which they want to manage things. And that's very important. So
But I think that goes against you, right? Maybe my mindset is wrong. You correct me. Because when you say user base, I can have one guy sitting here managing everything. So you will sell one license, just for an
yeah,
example. But when you talk about use cases in products, with the inception of or birth of agentic AI, there will be many data products. So
yeah.
maybe not use case based. Maybe you can have data product
But
based licensing. I don't know. I don't
product
know. Just a
product
thought.
base is the same. We don't want to influence the granularity
Okay.
of the product you build. But to your point, if the platform is used by one person anyway, its value will be limited to one person. So it will be low value. But so it doesn't make sense to have a platform for one person. It's about collaboration, transparency, enablement. So where everything comes to play is when you have different personas engaging around the same stuff. And this is where we bring value. This is because you're
Mm,
building metadata for business users to consume. So you have multiple people. If you have no one coming to consume anyway, what is your value? Your value
mm,
because people consume. So you have value per producer, value per consumer. So I think, yeah, that's really important to look at from what do we enable, and we enable people to collaborate, and scale their approach and so on. So
okay. Okay.
that's
Okay. I think this was great. It is. I would definitely say that this is a better session which we had last time because Now, last time you were dependent on the catalogs. Now you have your own catalog, right? You have bundled
Yeah,
up with the right product, and your product can be used by business users, top management, as well as up to the level of data quality or data governance people, right at the bottom level, data
yeah,
stewards as well, right? They can
exactly.
do end to
So we
end.
do, and I should mention for everyone that we have that end-to-end layer, but we can still, it's a modular approach, so we can still deploy one and the other,
Okay.
including having the strategic module on top of competing data catalogs. And that's something important because if people have an existing catalog in place, they don't need to change everything at once.
True,
Okay, of
true.
course,
Good point.
one day they will be convinced that ours is better, but we're not forcing a change everywhere to adopt some of the nice stuff we had. So
Awesome, awesome.
that's a good, hopefully a good conclusion.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good conclusion, and we have a time check. I'm sure you have other meetings lined up. So awesome. Thanks, Nicholas. It was a pleasure session. It was a great session again. I again learn a lot from you, which I'm doing from every podcast. It's becoming more exciting for me every day, every podcast I'm doing. Thank you so much. Looking forward. By the way, next week, right? We have that what is data? Data product.
Yeah.
That's a panel discussion. Let's catch up then and there. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you again for having me. For everyone, please reach out on LinkedIn if you have any questions and want to follow up on topics, or reach out to Mustafa and he'll be a bit yeah, happy to connect.
With
And
commission. If you
with
reach out to me,
commission,
there'll be a
of
commission.
course, that's yeah, but you have added value. And yeah, talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
See you. Take care. Have a good weekend. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.